it stays right by my side. So tell me open, pour me out. There's things inside that scream and shout, and the pain still hates me. So hold me until just like the curse, just like the stray. You feed it once, and now it stays. Now it stays. So tell me open, but beware. This thing's insane without a care, and the dirt still stains me. So wash me until I'm clean.
Alright, welcome back for another tone tutorial for the Boss Katana Mk2. I'm Scott, this is Guitarnivore, and this week we have a collaboration tone. A while back, I sent an email over to Mason V at Synthedelic, said, hey, anytime you want to do a collaboration of some sort, hit me up. And it took us a while to get an idea, his idea. He emailed me and said, hey, I got an idea, why don't we both do tones from the same album, and then we can kind of exchange them, tweak them to our own liking, and make it into a video. So I said, sure. I said, how about a Peace Sells tone, since I was already working on it? And he said,
How about no?
and he said, how about Load? So I said, sure, let's do it. So I immersed myself in that album, and I've got a lot of things to talk about at that album that just can't be done in the amount of time we have here. Needless to say, I've slept on that album a long time. And it's a really good album. It's a weird Metallica album, but it's a really good Metallica. It's a really good album. I've really enjoyed kind of listening to it and learning from it. And I've got these two songs, Until It Sleeps and 2x4, and let's jump into Until It Sleeps, the clean tone, so we can get this out of the way. This is going to be a two-part video series. Mason released his video at the same time as this one, so if you're subbed to both of us, it's probably going to be in your feed eventually. So check his out as well. And let's jump into this. So here I've got my clean patch loaded up, and I've got the chain 1. I do have a couple mods and effects, but I put them after the boost and after the amp for a reason. Well, I'll tell you the reason. It just didn't sound good before the amp. So they're after the amp, as you can see. I've got the amp set on clean, got the gain at 55 and the volume at 80. 80-ish, you'll have to adjust that somewhere. I think I had it set at 45 initially. The bass is at 51. Mids are scooped down a little bit at 29, and the trebles at 58. Over here, I'm running the vintage cab resonance, and the presence at 59. I do not have any global EQ or contour on this one. Going over to the booster, right now our clean tone sounds like, and we're going to add some stuff to it. We're going to add a clean boost to it with the drive at 14, the tone at 11, and bottom at 8. And the effects level at 39, and I do have the direct mix turned up to about 4950 on this one, so give that clean boost a little try on there. And it just adds a little bit of gain to it. And in the mod, I have a harmonist, and I ran 2-voice harmonist on this to try to give it a little layered effect to it. And I've got the HR1 level at 18, the 2 level at 25, 32 milliseconds on the first voice, 70 on the second, and the 12 on the feedback. This is in E flat. So the master key, I got the master key set at E flat and the direct mix at 100. Let's turn it on. Kind of gives the illusion that there's more than one guitar playing in there. And then over on the FX, I've got a chorus. I've got the low rate at 30 and high rate at 29. 29 on the low depth, 37 on the high, 6 milliseconds on the low pre, and 5.5 on the high pre. And both levels are around the same, 43 and 45. This crossover frequency was just kind of here, and I left it right where it was. Direct mix at 100. And this kind of gives it that wavy kind of feel to it. I tried it with a phaser. It didn't quite work, but you can play with a phaser if you want. Just gives that kind of waviness to it. Not like a tremolo or a vibrato, but just that kind of wavy chorus feel to it. And over on the delay, I've got an analog delay. It's turned down. I got the time at 426 milliseconds and the feedback at 23. The high cut is flat. Direct mix 100. But I have this effect level low because if it gets too high, then you get too much of the delay and it just sounds weird. And I just added a nice hall reverb to it. Very modest, 1.8 seconds on the time, 64 on the pre-delay. The low cut was already at 4, high cut was at 4, 5 on the density, and then the level at 38. It sounds nice. I noticed in the mix, it seemed like I was picking heavy, and I don't know, I was trying not to, but the mix was picking it up, and I don't know, maybe I could have alleviated that with a compressor and turned the attack down. I'm not sure. Or maybe it's just my picking technique. I don't know. Lastly, I have a parametric EQ on here. I do have a noise suppressor turned at 50, but it's a clean tone, so you really don't need that suppressor on there. And maybe that was throwing off my picking, I don't know. But on the EQ, I have it amp out, plus 2 decibels on the low, 40 on the low cut, 0 on the mid gain, 250 on the low mid frequency, 2 on the high mid, 4 on the high gain, 4 on the level, 4 kilohertz on the high cut, and 1 kilohertz on the mid frequency. And there you have it. Let's get into the dirty one. On our dirty patch over here, I do have the chain at 2-2, which you really don't need it because I had a mod and effects over here, but I got rid of them because I just didn't feel like they were needed, and I just left that where it was. It doesn't really make a difference because all I have in here is a boost and everything else is after the amp anyway, like the delay and reverb and the EQs. So up at our amp type, I do have a crunch set at 50 on the gain and 62 on the volume, 63 on the bass, 63 on the mids, and 54 on the treble with a modern cabinet resonance. Present set at 64, no global, no solo, no contour. Over here on my boost, I do have a tube screamer, and before we get the tube screamer, it's kind of flat. Turn on the tube screamer. I'm using it as a boost. -7 on the tone, plus 13 on the bottom, 50 on the level, and everything else over here is inert, so it doesn't matter. I got the tone at 0 on the drive. And once we get into the EQs, it'll boost that signal a lot better. I don't have a mod or an effects on here, but I do have an analog delay set at 443 milliseconds, 33 on the feedback, and 25 on the level, just to give it a little bit of delay. And on my reverb, I do have a plate set at 2.8, 0 on the pre-delay, 5 on the density, and the effects level at 18. It's not a whole lot. It's very modest, all the delay and the reverb. So jumping over to our Parametric EQ, it is amp out, and I do have the low gain at 7, 40, 0 on the mid gain, 250 on the mid frequencies. And over here, I've got almost everything on some of my favorites here. 2 decibels on that one, 4 decibels on the high gain, 4 on the level. But I do have the high cut kind of turned up a little past 5. Normally I have it set at 5, but 6.3 sounded a little bit better. And the high mid at 1.6. And over here on the 10-band EQ, these are just settings I kind of went through and tweaked as I was going along, just to find that sweet spot. You can pause it and set them up if you like. And let's hear it. And lastly, over here in the noise suppressor, I do have it at 51 and 26 on the release. All this sounds much better. When I did the recording in the mix, I actually used a microphone, an SM57, a little off center, and I think it came out sounding pretty decent. So that's my take on that. Let's jump into 2x4. Over here in the chain of 2x4, I have it set at 2.2, and that's because I got a compressor in there. I wanted to put the compressor before the booster and before the amp. And I do have a harmonist in there after the amp, so that's why I got that set at. I do have it set at crunch, and the gain at 48, volume at 68, bass 66, middle 31, 59 on the treble, deep cabinet resonance with 61 on the presence, no global contour. Over on the booster, I've got a tube screamer, boosted just a little bit more than I normally would at 17, minus 14 on the tone, plus 19 on the bottom, 49 on the level, and 37 on the direct mix. So this gets a little more. But on the mod, I got a compressor. I got a Boss compressor, level at 50, attack at 55, and sustain at 54 with the tone set at 0. And it gives a little nice little... I do have a harmonist here, just one voice harmonist. It's very modest. 10 on the HR1 level, 34 milliseconds on the pre-delay, 9 on the feedback. Again, E flat, direct mix all the way up. Just gives it that kind of layered effect, more than one guitar sounding. Over here on the reverb, I do have it set at play at 2.8 seconds on the time, 0 on the milliseconds. 400 low cut, 6.3 on the kilohertz, 5 on the density, and the effects level 18. I just didn't want too much. And moving on to the Parametric EQ amp out, 7 decibels on the low. I deepened this one just a little bit more, down at 40 where I normally have it. It just didn't sound as beefy. So moving that up to 8. It sounded a little better. 0 on the mid gain, 250 on the mid frequencies, 2 and 4 on the mid gain and high gain, 4 on the level, 4 on the high cut, 5 just made it a little too bright, and 1.6 on the mid frequencies. Over here on the 10 band, GE10, you can pause this and take a look at it. I've got the level at 4, and I do have the 16 up a little higher than I normally would. Just to kind of give it that buzziness to it. So pause that, set it up, get your noise suppressor set at about 50. This one's not too bad. And I got the release at 0, but you can make an adjustment to your room or house or whatever. But that is it for 2x4. Now, I do have a patch for Kirk's 2x4 wah. It's a little bit different. I'll switch over to that. And on this one, I used a lead amp with the chain 2-2 because I got a compressor in there, I think. I'm not sure. With the gain turned up at 25. Volume set at 77. Adjust that as usual. 38 on the bass. 14 on the mid. 49. Treble. Modern. And I do have the solo turned up to 43. I don't think I used a solo EQ. If I did set this, I don't remember setting it, but you can take a look at it and set it to whatever you want. Now for the mod, I got the Boss compressor. It looks like I had the same settings as I did on the regular 2x4. And the harmonist, it might be around the same, I'm not sure. But I had to kind of tweak this one with the lead and the solo to make it stand out a little bit more. And then with the pedal effects, pedal minimum 7, pedal max at 94, because I'm using the light wah and the pedal wah. Everything just sounded like too much. So with the pedal wah, but it's something that you can play with. For the EQ, it's I downed the low mids a little bit, and I kept the low cut at 40, the high at 5. It's just slightly different settings. If you want to use them, you can use them. They'll be in the patch. So at this point, those are the settings. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. It might not be immediately after this one, but there's going to be a follow-up to this one where he gives me his 2 patches. I play with them. I see how badly I can ruin them. I'm going to give him mine. He's probably going to make mine sound a lot better. So, if you're not subbed to Mason, get over there. There's going to be a link to his video down in the description and the pinned comment to his video. Get over there, check out his channel, like and sub his stuff. Catch you next time.